So my first shout, and I would imagine that you have this on yours as well, but maybe not, is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, okay.
So, like, everyone knows, instant classic album.
Yeah.
Amazing songs, some class features. Had Sampha on there, who's on like every project from a rapper in the last like 5 years. But that just class. And then seen him at Leeds Arena, fantastic there as well. But I just think like consistency wise, every single one of Kendrick's albums is so good. Like he hasn't missed in years now. Like
It's been a time. It's been a long
literally,
time.
like
yeah.
every single album is just full of bangers, and it's good to listen like from the start to the back. It's not just a couple good songs in there. Do you know what I mean? The whole album you can sit and listen to and enjoy.
You can tell he's crafted it from front to back. Like he's been in the process the entire way, and you can tell because it all feels the same and it's all very well done. And it's not like, you know, he's had a producer do this and then somebody's come in and done that. He's definitely had vision on all of these recent projects. So yeah, that's a good
100%.
shout. That's a good shout.
I think there was like loads of good hype built up around it as well, like having his cousin who I think released his album last year, Keem. Baby Keem. And he was like on the tour and they did some songs together on each other's albums. And it was just a good overall vibe and they kind of tied together well.
Which I think speaking of Baby Keem, both of us did actually look at that album.
Yeah.
I think you were Family Ties.
Yeah, I was gonna have Family Ties in my probably as my top song, but in the end it was in 2021.
And it was the same for me, but it was Range Brothers, which is arguably the other side of the album.
Yeah.
So, but either way, both of us wanted a song from that album, which just goes to show how good that album was.
100%.
Kendrick following it up. I know it's not the same artist, but you know it's in the same vein.
Yeah.
And for him to follow it up with Mr. Morales is just 10 out of 10. Yeah.
We love to see it. What's yours? What's your first shout?
So my first shout is unfortunately almost exactly the same as my songs list. So we're going with Melt My Eyes, See Your Future, Denzel Curry.
Okay.
I personally feel from front to back, he doesn't miss on this entire project. The last project I would say he had no misses on personally would be Taboo, which was not even that long ago. So the man is consistent.
Yeah.
And I think he just has a way to kind of craft a feel out of an album. So this one gives you kind of like, it is supposed to be those spacey vibes, and like it's like his Space Ranger kind of Star Wars anime, weird like fighting Japanese samurai. That's his feel for this album, and you can really get a sense for that from just listening to the whole thing. You know, the little added tracks in it and stuff like that just adds context to the album. So that's definitely my number one album.
Number one
album.
See, so Kendrick Lamar actually isn't my number one album. I'll let you into a little secret now that Denzel's is in my honorable mentions, but it's not in my top three.
Right.
But it's one of my honorables.
I think the thing is with albums more so is that I'm not an album man. So
Right.
I'm like
You just pick off a few.
I mean with newer releases, I'll go back and listen to albums that I like. But when it comes to newer releases, if it's singles and stuff, I sometimes miss the fact that an album was dropped with a single, or like there's been 3 singles that I really liked, and I'm like, oh, they're off. Of course they're off the album. Why would they be dropping singles? So I think my list might be a little bit lacking,
a bit biased to certain singles.
Again, yeah.
Really links up to the song choices. So my album of the year for 2022 undoubtedly is Dawn FM by The Weeknd.
Okay.
So
Alright.
I'd never really even listened to The Weeknd up to like Dawn. Like I'd listen to him, you know, like you hear the songs on the radio, you see him do the Super Bowl halftime show,
You can't
etc.
not listen
Yeah,
to
like
him.
I
Yeah.
knew a few of his songs, but I never like sat and listened to the albums. Dawn FM came out and one of my friends sent me it and said it's like got that like old school 80s vibe. Sounds like something that'd be on like the GTA radio while you're driving around at night. Listen to the album top to bottom. Absolutely incredible. Like the whole thing is like literally I don't skip a song, and it's one of those albums where I've only added 1 or 2 of the songs to my playlist, but The Weeknd has become one of my top artists because I literally will just go and listen to the whole album.
Fair play.
And that's the first time where like even my other shouts on here, like there's a few songs that I think, oh, they're a bit shit, but Dawn FM by The Weeknd is an actual masterpiece. And I've never seen him before because obviously I've not been a massive fan, but I've got tickets to see him at the Etihad Stadium next year.
True.
Which will be really good.
That'd be very good.
Like I've seen some of the shows that he puts on. There's like a big moon and stuff there, really like fantastic lighting and stuff going on. So that'll be really good, as long as he does a lot of Dawn FM.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd imagine he would if that's what he's touring, but he's obviously going to do the classics as well.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that. Like I know a lot of the classics.
Yeah. I think well, he's one of those artists where even if you didn't know it was him, you'd hear a song and you go, oh, I know that song, and it's always The Weeknd. Yeah,
my dad said he sounded like Justin Bieber the other day, and I was like,
well,
not really, mate.
Not quite the same way, but go off. Okay, so my number 2. Get Fucked, The Chats, which is what 6 Litre GTR of my honorable mentions was in. Again, this is just I don't know how else to put it other than it's brilliantly simple. Okay. Like it's obviously you can tell they put effort into making the songs, but it still kept its kind of raw feel. And I don't know if they've also recorded it through like box amps with mics rather than straight into the input. But whatever they've done, they've managed to capture that raw, like just energy of like, original punk. And it's fun as well. I think that's the other thing. I think I tend to gravitate towards music that has kind of a piss takey kind of fun sense. Maybe like, almost going to the point where it's actually comedy music. I mean, on like the past 2 years on my, like, when it shows you these genres, comedy or like something to do with humor and music is always in my top 5, and all like meme songs or stuff like that. So I just really enjoy fun music, and I think this is perfect for that.
Yeah, I feel like when I've listened to the Chats, because I have heard of them a few times, they always seem to like not take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, that's nice. It. Yeah, and I mean, I've seen interviews and people say that they're actually like private school kids and actually really well off, and they're doing they're pretending to be those and sing those songs, and I'm like, either way, they're managing to put on the appearance. So
true,
and people hating on them for it, and it's like, but at least they're not the private school people you thought they were. They could be worse.
I knew you love Youngblood as well.
Same
origins.
Oh yeah, Youngblood, man. Yeah, definitely. Because you can tell with Youngblood that he's not at all privately educated, can't you? Not by the way. No, carry on. Move on.
So, my other shout for album of the year is one that won't surprise you again. Links to one of my singles. It's Been Funny in a Foreign Language by the 1975. I think like it was really well received by the critics as well, and it's funny because when this album first started coming out, do you know when a band releases a few singles, I wasn't like sure. Like I think the first single was Happiness, and I was a bit like, not sure on this, kind of going in a bit of a different direction. Like I want 100%, but now the full album's out. Like there's only 1 or 2 songs on there that I'm not a big fan of. So like again, as a whole, it's probably become one of my top listened to of the year, and it only came out a few months ago. And I just love the 1975. To be honest.
No, I mean it's fair enough. Yeah,
and like I just know like seeing them at Leeds Fest was one of the best. Like especially like just the whole situation. I look back on that. I look back at when I seen them a few years ago, and I kind of feel like I've liked them since I was like 14. And each album's changed a little bit, but not to the point where the band's unrecognizable. Which I kind of like. Like I know what I'm getting, and it's always good, and it just kind of sticks to a winning formula for me.
They've evolved at a pace that isn't, too jarring. They haven't just released an album. The next album, they've completely changed genre. They've just got. Is that what you're saying? They've got like remnants of the previous album
like
feeding
a
through.
Few songs that are like them old school bops. There's a few like new floaty ones, and then there's a few that are just completely out there that are completely different. And I think compared to the last project as well, I actually really like the last album. It's called like Notes on a Conditional Form, but it was like 20 something songs. It was really long, and there was a few misses on there. Whereas this one's, I think it's only like 9 or 10 songs. Really like just straight to the point, and pretty much all the songs are good.
I think that's what you tend to find when. I mean, don't get me wrong. Albums with long track lists can be phenomenal and they can be well written, but I think if you're one of those artists that is releasing an album every year, every other year, you should try and rein it in a bit, because you're just not going to be able to put as much effort into every track. Then obviously there's going to be tracks on there that are going to be absolute bops, but those are going to be the ones that are obvious that you put time into, and the other ones are more just, like track 17 is just clearly a concept you had in the bath, and you've gone, let's throw that on the album.
Yeah, so I do want to say, like, Notes has my favourite 1975 song on there, that If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know.
True.
Absolute banger. Like, all the trumpets and stuff in that. I know whenever I hear that live, I'm about to go feral.
Well, like you were saying about this album being in your top 3 because obviously 1975, I can guarantee next year there'll be an album that'll be in both of our top 3s.
Wait, why? Who's releasing next year?
Blink.
Oh shit, yeah.
Because the thing is, I didn't think their single qualified for my top 3 because whilst it was a good single, it was just back to Blink.
Can I just say, I love Blink, but I didn't really like the new single.
No, I didn't. That's the thing. I didn't.
It's not on my playlist.
No, it's not on my playlist, but I didn't mind it. You know what I mean? It's basically, I think it was more of a, here's what's coming. You know, it was like, here's a tiny little, we don't want to give you too much, so we're going to give you the most basic track off the entire album. Here's your little
they kind of went, guess who's back? It's us again.
Yeah.
I think the album will be good. I've got high hopes for it.
I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
I swear that if he comes back and it's, I'll cry. Okay, so my number 3 is The Eminem Show Expanded Edition. Wow, we'll talk about swapping it up a bit. Can you believe it? So the reason for that is it was just a release of the initial, but I think it was 5 added tracks, some of which were tracks from years ago, like Bumpheads and Stimulate. And Stimulate was an unreleased track that people claimed was new, but had been leaked since like late 2010s.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly like late 2000s. It wasn't exactly like it was new. So I'd heard that before, but to actually have it on a streaming service where I can access it was good. But then, like I say, he re-recorded Jimmy, Brian and Mike, which was insane to hear. They included, obviously, to do with expanded editions, just instrumentals on there, a couple of live variations of the show. And then, I mean, yeah, it was just, I think, as a fan of an artist that's been going that long, to get music that is from that era released now, to be able to listen to new music from back then that you really enjoyed is just... you can't put money on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is as well, like, it's one of Eminem's best albums overall. So to have that like remastered with some new tracks from that era and some like live versions and stuff, you can't really complain at that.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to include it in my top 3, but I just thought like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't, because of how much I enjoyed having those tracks now. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's my third choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't have any honourable mentions for albums because I kind of struggle to get the top 3.
Fair enough. No, so I'll go through some of my honourable mentions, and I've actually got a few, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I've got Life Is Yours by Foles, kind of similar to the Wombats album in some ways. Like, I feel like this... Foles have been around for years now. They just actually got announced as a Leeds Fest headliner, which we'll jump into a little bit later. But just like, a really good feel-good album. You can listen to it top to bottom. Just like some funky indie rock, like funky poppy indie. I don't really know how to describe it. Just a really good album. Foles are a fun band and they've been really consistent. I've got Nobody's Home by Bakar. This is one of those where it's actually more a few of the singles off it. The album overall is good, but there's like a single called NW3, which I really like. There's a few other on there. I feel like Bakar's kind of grown quite big in fame. Like he's had features with like H and stuff on his new album, and he's got a fair few monthly listeners. But I think he's one of those who's like just off hitting that next level. Do you know what I mean? Like he's big, but I do think in a few years he could be like Dave levels of like Dave, AJ Tracy, Stormzy.
Either that or he misses the train completely and he's gone.
Because his music's a little bit more out there than those guys. It's a little bit more like personal and emotional. So I hope that people can start to like listen to that, and I hope that he doesn't just aim for a different...
Because it's one of those where if you make music that is out of the mainstream and tries to touch on more sensitive topics, if you haven't already got a massive fan base, it can then be hard to grow your fan base, can't it? Because people have to relate, and if you're not relating to enough people, they're not going to be listening to your tunes. So I think, it'd be interesting to see how he goes on.
Yeah, he is really good though. If you haven't listened to Bakar, you should definitely check him out. That album is fantastic, and so was his. I think it was like an EP before that, but yeah, I think he's going to do well. And then the other two obvious ones based on my tracks, we've got Actual Life 3 from Fred again. Like, I think how Fred does his music is he just kind of like puts like... His albums will be called Actual Life, like I think it was like January to September or something, and it's just tracks that he's like made and mixed and stuff while he's on the road and while he's touring that he then puts into an EP. But this one was really good. It had a lot of the tracks from that Boiler Room, which everyone really liked, and it blew up. So again, like he's literally gone from like relatively big to like could sell out arenas, I reckon, in a lot of at least in London he could. So I think next year, if he has another EP of this size, he's going to quickly become one of the biggest like DJs, producers in the world, because he's already produced tracks for like Ed Sheeran and stuff like that. So he's well known in the scene. And then the last one is just Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by Denzel Curry. Fantastic album. It's just an actual W.
It
like
really is.
Denzel hasn't missed again for a while, and this is another example of
Denzel's let us eat good with that one, hasn't he?
Yeah. Thank you for watching. That was a clip from the Man Overboard podcast.
And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to click on the links down below because we're on every streaming service and that's where you can find full episodes.
Peace.